Hi guys, this is Daniel Alexander Cannon here on the Supernatural Show. Today we have a very serious subject. We're going to talk about it. We're going to treat it seriously. However, we don't have the answers. What we have is the questions and the theories around the subject matter that we're going to get into, which is telepathy a real thing? And if it is, do we have any evidence of it, not only now, but biblically, and also evidence in history? Can we see any signs? Can we see any symbols? Can we see any things that lead us to believe that maybe, just maybe, telepathy or even higher may be actually a real thing? And so we're going to get into that this morning. And we've got Susan Donahue, an awesome viewer, fan, and sister and supporter of our work. And I'm grateful to have her here as well. I wanted to introduce real quick, and then I'm going to do a quick review. I'm going to introduce everybody here, and then I'm going to do a quick overview of what we're going to be discussing today. I'm going to go through it quickly, and then we're going to come back and break it down. Okay? So with that being said, let's go and let's say hello to my co-host, Shannon. What in the supernatural is going on with you?
Oh, well, it's a little off subject, but there's just a whole lot of weird law changes happening and just hearing a lot of repercussions of that. So it's been a very fascinating couple of days just seeing where the world is going.
Oh, it's nonstop whirling, that's for sure. Absolutely.
So,
and no, I'm not talking about a ball for y'all people out there. Anyways, thank you for being here today, Shannon. And of course, we have our self-proclaimed truth ambassador, Roxy, here with us in the house, on screen with us here.
Hey now.
What in the supernatural is going on with you?
Just enjoying the beautiful weather, taking in this marvelous world that I woke up and was lucky enough to draw oxygen in this morning.
Yeah. Is this live now? Says Sublime 48. Yeah, it's very live. In fact, you're on the show. We also have here with us, helping out here in the background. You can see the little blonde-headed figure over here. We've got Miss Kim in the house helping us in the comments and moderation, and among many other things she helps me with, of course. And so with that being said, I'm going to move at this point to the quick review, and then we're going to come back and have a group discussion, okay? So what are we talking about? We're talking about telepathy. Is it a real thing, or is it some kind of fantasy or some kind of hocus pocus witchcraft thing? Or what is it? Well, let's see if we can find out what it is by going through a number of things. We're going to start with this. My sheep hear my voice, and I know them, and they follow me. Now, who said that? Well, it's recorded that Christ said that. In John 10:27, my sheep hear my voice, and I know them, and they follow me. Now, how do we hear that voice? To those of you who have heard that voice, how do we hear it? We hear it in our head, don't we? At least for me, in my experiences throughout my life, it's always been in my head. Like the one time I've told the story before, when I heard, "Get up and walk out now," in my head. And I know that was the voice of the Father. And so, yeah. And when it comes to God, in which we are in the image of, telepathy, for lack of better words, is a real thing. I think it's bigger than just telepathy, but we'll get into that. So my sheep hear my voice, and I know them. Is there any other references that make you wonder about this topic? Well, if we go to Revelations 17:13, these have one mind, talking about the kingdom of the 10 horns with the 10 kings. These have one mind, and shall give their power and strength unto the beast. One mind. We'll say, well, that just, one mind just means an agreement. One mind just means that they're all working on the same scheme? Or well, why does it say one mind? Why don't it say that they have one agreement or one plan or one something else? But it doesn't. It says mind. And there are a number of other references as well biblically. Like you can look at Colossians 13:11, and it says, "Finally, brethren, farewell, be perfect, be of good comfort, be of one mind, live in peace, and the God of love and peace shall be with you." So be of one mind. It doesn't say be of one law. It doesn't say be of one plan. It doesn't say be of one book and only listen to this one book. It says be of one mind. Now, how is that possible? Well, we think we might have some idea. And we've got other biblically. Can y'all guys see if they help? Okay.
Hear you, little Roxy. Are you trying to say something? Sorry.
No, not me.
Okay. Never mind. Sounded like something weird. Anyways.
It's echoing is what's going on. I'm getting quite a bit of echo. That's why I was asking y'all guys if you can mute temporarily. Okay, so let's keep going here. We've got this image here. What does this image come from? Well, it comes from a couple of things. One, it comes from Stargate, SG-1. It comes from a television series, but it also comes from, this is the symbol or the image for the Stargate AI project. One of their logos that they're using is this image. What is this image? Well, in one perspective, it is a pyramid with an all-seeing eye or a crystal ball on top. Okay. You may think, well, what's that got to do with it? Well, think about the all-seeing eye. Okay, like it's on your dollar bill, which we'll take a look at here in a minute. What does it mean to see all or know all? And how would you know all? What if you're trying to conquer a people? How is it that you're going to know everything they're thinking, or know everything? You say, okay, you build these things and you spy on them and you listen to them. But is there a higher level of this? Is there a higher level of the all-seeing eye? Does God in heaven know our thoughts? Yes, of course he does. So you have these programs out here. Here's another mountain or pyramid, right? With a light on top with the Stargate on it, the Stargate AI project. And here you have the Open AI, which is the guys that are supposed to be partly behind it. And what it's looking at is you're looking at what looks like a toroidal type thing, a torus, or a spinning hurricane, or a spinning tornado, or also a snake wrapped around a tree, like the tree in the garden that was the tree of knowledge of good and evil. And the tree had what wrapped around it? A snake. Just like the winds in a tornado or the winds in a hurricane. And it's all in the same image, you might say. And of course, we have the Stargate program or the Stargate project, that the CIA released some information on supposedly. And it goes into talking about how they were studying people that understood telepathy and other capabilities of some people. And that goes along with the GATE program that is still going on to this day in schools all across the world. And they call it the Gifted and Talented program, or the Gifted and Talented Education program. And I find it interesting that you will always see in most of their imagery, you will see that circle, that Stargate or that gateway. You'll see that. And here we have the tree, even symbolism from the tree of the garden that I just mentioned. And here you go. You're passing the light, passing the torch, passing the knowledge, again in a circle, and the Gate and Gifted Talented program. And so we've got all these programs like that. This was back from the 70s, the Stargate program, 70s, 80s, 90s. And they said, oh, we didn't find nothing, so we stopped looking. Well, they didn't stop. They haven't stopped looking anymore, because now they have the Stargate project. The Stargate project is a self-proclaimed $500 billion project where they're building technology all around the world in different locations. They're building networks, kind of like the networks that work inside of our minds, or maybe a network that exists between a global consciousness of people that are connected and understand things. You may ask, how is it that there were pyramids built in Giza, pyramids built in South America, pyramids built in America, pyramids built in Canada, Asia, India, China, Indonesia, Australia? Pyramids were built all around the world, yet they had no way to communicate. I know, we think someone came down from above, didn't they? Maybe and told them how to build these things and do this. We know that kind of thing went on as well. But what if they built the original pyramids, whichever one that was, whether it was in Giza or whatever, and they broadcast it? Most of us know that the pyramids were built and they were some kind of a power generation center, generating power for something. For what? Well, if we look at the symbolism that's on our dollar bill, we can see the for what. We can see the for what. Let's see if I've got it here. I know I have it here. Just haven't done it. I showed it yet. We'll see it in a minute. We all know that on top of the pyramid on the dollar is the all-seeing eye. They're telling us the answer. They're telling us that my theory is likely right. And it's not just my theory. We're all here working on this. But now we're bringing it to all of y'all so it can be all of our theories to work on. So if you can see all things, know all things, you're kind of like God, aren't you? Kind of says you understand what people are thinking, what people are doing, what they're going to do. Remember the Minority Report, where they knew what people were going to do? How are they going to achieve that? Well, if you look at the movie The Minority Report, it was through technology. And if you look at what's going on right now with OpenAI and the Stargate project, they're going to use technology in order to be able to control and turn something that may be a natural capability that we all have and have forgotten how to use it for the most part. They're going to take and build a technology in order to control that and further imprison the people and the people's minds, because the mind is what? It is the what's the word I'm looking for? The Holy of Holies. It is the temple. Your body is the temple, but the Holy of Holies is your head, the mind. So the last place to invade for them to learn to control and to divide and conquer, is controlling the minds and what someone thinks, and also giving them the things to think. You understand? So now if we look at the pyramids around the world, and I didn't...
Real quick, Daniel, have you heard the new news about the columns that they discovered under the Great Pyramid?
Yeah, I'm getting ready to talk about that right now.
I just wanted to know. I just had to ask.
And then we're going to come back and go through all of this. This is the presentation to do so that I can turn this into a shorter video and put it out like I was explaining before we started.
Oh, darn, I messed that up. Sorry.
All right, it's all right. Let's keep going. So let's look at a couple of pyramid locations around the world, just to show you how prevalent they are, more than you think. Okay, where are we looking right now? You can see if you're looking at this map here. This happens to be a globe form map, so don't have a fit out there. You can come down and zoom, and you can come into here and you can see there's all these red lines. What are those red lines going to? Well, let's look. Oh, look, this is in southern China, and it's a pyramid in southern China. Oh, but there's more red lines. Let's look and see what's at this red line. Oh, look, it's another pyramid. And if we go on over and look, another one right beside it. Now, I would imagine that someone had a really good purpose for building these pyramids. And no, I'm not saying the only purpose was for all-seeing mind kind of building technology. I think it was probably multiple things. But we have these pyramids all around the world. If I click another location, let's go here, start showing this is another structure, and it was built on top of a pyramid type thing. Let's go to another one. Let's see here. Apparently this is a pyramid shape as well that sits in the middle of a body of water. Another thing you'll notice about most of these is that they are inside of a or near a flow of water, like a river, like this river down here. Pretty much all of them are like that. There's water very nearby. And these are just some examples, is what I'm trying to show. This map isn't very clear like the other ones, so I can't really show it. Let's go down a couple more and see what I'm getting. I haven't even looked at these locations yet. Okay, another pyramid right there. And where is this located at? Let's back out and see what country we're in. We are in Australia. See, even in Australia, they have pyramids built. Now, how is it that people all around the world, during the same general period of time, decided to build pyramids? Why is that? Like these pyramids. Pyramids of Giza. And look, right beside current. That current, see the flow of energy, currency. You could also have, you would also find, like I said, the water, the flowing of currency, the energy. It is always seems to be there. If you look at the dollar bill, there's imagery of, or symbolism and imagery of water on those. Okay. So now what Shannon was mentioning there is something they found very recently, according to some reports that are out, is that they found that the pyramids sit on top of something that kind of looks like, let's see, I think I have this. They kind of look like this. They sit on top of the trees or something that looks like phallic symbols or Tesla coils or the tree out of the garden of good and evil, and it's the snake wrapped around the tree. And they claim that this is the type of structure that they have found, or structures that they have found below Giza. Okay, and here are some of the other images real quick, just to show you that they're releasing with some of their proof, along with the LiDAR ground scans, where they're finding that in fact there are solid formed pieces that are way down into the ground, like very, very far down into the earth. And so it makes me wonder if really what we aren't looking at is, I knew that it was energy generation, but how about was it for communication, for broadcasting? Was the original Tower of Babel, Babel meaning a word for communication, a lot of things communicating at once. Was that tower actually part of its design was to be like God, right? How about for broadcasting and be like God, being able to speak to people in their minds? Tower of Babel. I'm not saying that's a fact. I'm saying we need to ask questions. Here you go with your dollar, with the pyramid, with all C and I sitting right on top of it, giving us the hint as to what their goal has been all along. And what does this right here mean? Novus Ordo Seclorum. It means out of many, one. Okay. And what are they trying to do? They're trying to break everything down into one, the control of everything, and into a one world government, a one mind control system. And they've been slowly introducing this stuff for a long time. And of course, what have they been doing? They have been dividing and conquering, dividing and conquering, and making us stand 6 feet apart. They're trying to divide us emotionally as well as vibratory. They don't want you near your family. They don't want you to feel compassion and love. They don't want you to understand these things. They want to divide and conquer. And a little bit further on, we're going to take a look at some of y'all guys' comments from the video I put out called Global Telepathy Test Number 1, and where we're doing some little experiments. But for now, we're going to go back to the entire panel and open up the conversation to everybody here with any thoughts they might have, and we can go back through any of the slides and look at them and do whatever, because now we're transitioning to open talk.
Depends on how much you want to talk about which one.
Well, I mean, it's hard not to look at, let's see, where's it at? The dollar, for instance. Now, we know that they went into great effort and reason for the design of the dollar, and they've had this thing in our face for a long time, and we know they want to be like God. So I don't know. I mean, what do you think about the overall? And I don't need an echo chamber. I need open-minded, critically thinking people. So,
well, I see the pyramids as some type of communication or energy, and it transmits. That's what all these other pyramids are. They're the receivers. And I think some of the obelisks we see, like the Washington Monument, I think that was just a repeater. But you can't tell me with what they tell us that the Egyptians were and that they rode on chariots with horses, that they actually constructed this device, but yet they still rode horses, and that they had nothing but copper and bronze tools, but yet they carved granite that was as big as a single wide mobile home and transported it 2,000 miles over hills and mountains. I mean, come on, just the technology alone tells you of what happened that's not possible.
Well,
We cannot
interestingly,
replicate those things today with the technology we have.
well, interestingly enough, too, there's a lot of theories that explain the pyramids may have been built more in the time of Enoch. So the fact that, I mean, we're always told the ancient Egyptians were the ones who created this, but I do feel that, you know, giant beings definitely had to have something to do with that, and more of a technology that wasn't something that we even possessed quite, and that the fallen may have been a big part of building those, but more in the times of Enoch. It's kind of like even the ancient pyramids in South America. A lot of them were said to be built by the people who were there way before the people who inhabited them later, and use them for, you know, communication with their gods and sacrifices and things along those lines. But a lot of these pyramids could definitely have been built way more in an ancient time than Egypt and all of those things. And if, the fallen angels with their technology and their understanding of the heavenly powers, I don't doubt at all that it had stuff to do with telepathy, like a hive mind, even kind of a device, along with energy. And sometimes, too, I think of the movie Stargate and how in that movie it was technically like a ship. It could have a lot more technological advancements than we could ever understand, especially under knowing that these columns are under there, and how many of these pyramid structures have these columns.
Well, it's just like the heads at Easter Isle. For years and years, people thought it was just a head sitting on land. And when they dug down, there's a whole body there.
Yep,
There's so many of these structures in the world that we probably have no idea what's laying up under them.
exactly.
And if you take a 20,000-foot view above these things and don't think of the world, whether you think of it as flat or round, don't think of the fact of a pyramid in Egypt and a pyramid in China, one in America and one in Mexico, as separate entities. If you have the means to make this, you had the means for rapid transit. You are not on a horse and buggy. So if your rapid transit could take you from Mexico to Egypt to China to America to Canada to wherever you wanted to go, these things were nothing more at that time than just a city center. It would be no different than you driving down the road 2 or 3 hours to a comparable city to a theme park, so to speak, versus possibly traveling in some type of aerial speedy craft. I mean, I don't know what they had. I know what we see on the walls, and I know when you look at the walls and you look at the hieroglyphs and you look at the things left behind, it took time. Those drawings and those carvings and those walls were not put there for no reason, and
Right.
it took time to make those. I mean, I'm not gonna sit down and right now and write a book or a memoir or something about history and take the time to do it unless it means something. And back then, they carved it in a wall. If they had the technology to build a pyramid with shafts that go miles and miles into the earth to transmute power, they put that on that stone so it wouldn't get lost. Paper burns, hard drives get fried. When you write it in stone, it doesn't go anywhere. That pyramid still stands to this day with those drawings, which were put there for a reason. And it doesn't matter if those drawings happen in Egypt, in Mexico, in Mesopotamia, they're all depicting the same thing. So you cannot say that these people did not have some form of communication. Because if they were all on horse and carriage and little boats paddling across the ocean, they wouldn't all be drawing the same thing all over the world.
Right. Well, it's interesting, like the whole, mythology of Atlantis and all of that. I wonder if Atlantis really just wasn't the whole world, and the destruction of it was the floods, because they had supposedly all this, advanced technology, all of these things. And I kind of feel like it just would make sense if that was it. And all of this, huh?
Atlantis was a land of 10 kingdoms.
See, I feel like it's so much broader than we all think of.
I think everybody thinks that Atlantis was this, one place with a couple of circles and a big city.
Right.
No, Atlantis, just imagine if we had world peace and we were all one big nation of one mind and we communicated. If you think of Atlantis in those terms, as though they were the top of, how everything is sorted out, and that would be your capital city, so to speak. Atlantis could have been globally or worldwide or however you want to say it, It could have been so much more.
and
And
destroyed
there's a
in the
spot in
flood.
Africa which they can pretty much geographically, archaeologically, they're pointing to that could have been Atlantis.
It's just fascinating too, because with the global flood and Noah, all of that, just thinking what happens with all those all that building, people who end up repopulating end up losing the history and using it for other things and being told that it was this, and we're like, oh, we'll take credit for building this in ancient Egypt, and I don't know, it's just some theories.
Go and look at governmental buildings, governmental monuments, doesn't matter what country you're in. Always look at the plaque on it. I have recently discovered if you look at that plaque, it will say founded in 1904 or
Yep.
founded in 1862. That simply means they found it and repurposed it. It doesn't mean they built it.
Exactly.
And these pyramids were founded, in my opinion, by the Egyptians. They were just a civilization that come along and were able to use these buildings. There's no technological way that this thing could have been built by people that were using copper and bronze tools and riding on horse and chariot, because there are bases that have come out of these pyramids, and very few of them are allowed to be handled or tested or whatever this day and time. They're all behind glass in a museum, but there are a few. And the few that they have been able to scan and test, these objects, which are vessels, vases, vases, they are within 1/1000th of perfection. These things have handles on the side of them. There is no modern machinery that can make that. A human being on this earth right now, with all the equipment technology we've got, cannot make that.
But I bet the fallen angels.
Something made it, and I don't think it was human.
You wanted to say something, Daniel? You were like pointing your finger.
Sorry, we got busy on that one.
You're muted.
He's muted himself over there.
I was just listening to y'all guys and responding to the comments using hand signs. People are asking what I drew in the previous video, and I'm not going to say yet because I'm still we're live right now. Let's do this experiment again. We're live. This isn't a recorded video, and I'm looking at what I drew and the word that describes it. I have it. Here's the corner of the piece of paper. As you can see, I have it in my hands right here. I'm looking at it, and we're just experimenting. And I'm wondering, the reason why I'm not saying what it is yet is because I want us to have this live opportunity to give those of you permission to be able to see what I am seeing. So I'm just intently putting the image in my head and quiet in my mouth for a moment. Giving the opportunity for some more people to maybe pick up on what it is, because we're just experimenting.
I don't know who knows about the Schumann resonance, but a while back, a kind of like this, to see who could feel or what we could change. The pyramid emits the main pyramid emits a signal when you're inside of it about 8.1, which is very close to Earth's resonance of what it's normally, in that ballpark. But there was I guess we're going to say a field test of a bunch of people, and I was one of them. And we had decided to pick a time on a particular day, and we all set our alarms. And at that moment, for 2 minutes, we thought of nothing but love, peace, happiness, and joy. And there's a recorded change in the Schumann resonance for that 2 minutes. We had enough people around the world involved in it that it actually changed the frequency. We have the power to do that. We just all have to be of one mind to do it together.
Mm-hmm. You know, and that's literally biblically what it says for us to do. Not be of one plan, not be of one this, one that. It says be of one mind.
And the longer we allow these governments and countries and people to keep dividing us by left and right, black and white, man and woman, straight and gay, purple and green, the more they divide us and cause an argument between us, the less we are of one mind.
Well, and I think that's a big reason why they push so hard to continually create something different and making you have an identity. Like, you have to have this identity in this world construct and the way it's supposed to be. And, your identity is with God. Your identity is a child of God. That's.
Well, when I listen to the telepathy tapes, I don't know who has listened to them and who has not. This is about nonverbal autistic children who communicate telepathically, not only with each other, it's with teachers, parents, caregivers, people they're close to. One of the biggest things you will hear these children say is that you can't have an ego and you can't be in this for bad purposes. That if you do, these are the people that they can't communicate with. That it has to be a selfless, non egotistical reason to communicate. If you can't let your ego go and you can't use this for good, then you're not going to have access to it. That's just that simple. These children go to a place called the Hill. Some of them call it Lollipop Land, some of them call it the Hill. They telepathically go there and meet and have conversations. They have halls of knowledge. There are children there that were sit in the corner because they have motor skill issues. Some of them sit in wheelchairs and can barely walk. So they were treating these children like a 4-year-old. They were putting color flashcards in front of them and trying to teach them their ABCs. When one of these children finally started communicating, this child knew quantum physics. He spoke 4 languages. But they thought that there was nobody in there and that they just needed to teach him his colors. Just they wouldn't even tie his shoes of a day. I mean, it's a horrible story of how some of these children have been treated. There's an intellectual person in there. And
real quick, I just wanted to see Land Worker's comment. He says was diagnosed with autism, but he's not nonverbal, but he's experienced this. So I'm assuming you're still watching, and I would like for you to text me at this number. You can't call it ain't gonna work. But if you text me and let me know you're the person that was diagnosed with autism and you've experienced telepathy, I'd like for you to text me and I'll respond and then we'll speak. Okay? Thank you.
One of the biggest pickups I had on these children, a lot of them have really fine motor skill problems, is one of the reasons they can't speak. It's like they have trouble feeding themselves, the fine motor skills. Some of them even state that they feel extremely disconnected from their physical body. But because they are disconnected with that physical body, their mind works in a different way. So maybe in the beginning, we didn't speak like we speak now. Maybe there wasn't written languages. Maybe that's why there's pictures on the walls of the pyramid. I mean, it's a lot.
So, Roxy, mm, it's G-Code made that comment.
G-Code.
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 Made that comment.
Made that comment.
Made that comment. You see the comments on the screen?
Uh-huh.
It's the guy that was his nickname, well, not his nickname. Well, I guess you'd call it a nickname. But anyways, he goes by Geo, that we had on the show a little while back.
Yeah.
And we liked him. And I've spoke.
We like Geo.
Yeah, and I've spoke to him since. I think I have his cell phone number. If that's correct, Geo, send me a text. Let's explore this a little bit in a logical way. I'm not expecting you to demonstrate something for me. I just want to talk to you about it all. Yeah, George.
Just go take a listen to them. Just listen while you're driving to work. Just listen.
Yeah, I haven't made it through all of them yet, but I've been listening to them, and then all these connections started coming in. Boom, 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 boom. It's like, okay, what has been their major goal? The all-seeing eye, to know everything, just like God. How are they going to do that? It's going to have to be by using technology to build a way in order to know that, because they can't be God, but they can copy God. And how do they copy? By studying nature, by studying us. And what have they been doing? Just that. What are they symbolizing through their symbols? They're symbolizing the pyramid with the all-seeing eye, and that ain't no coincidence. So now we know what the pyramids were originally for. Is they were energy generators. That's why the Tesla coils are below them, and they were broadcasters. Anytime you have a radar station or radio station or anything that's doing broadcasting, there's going to be a lot of technical coils, a lot of energy. We've all heard the thing, we're broadcasting today from WKZRQ at 100,000 watts. We've all heard that growing up, because to broadcast, you need a lot of power. And to need a lot of power, well, you need Tesla coils underneath the pyramid, apparently.
Well, and think about the fact that, you can go to Walmart or Best Buy, wherever, and get a Wi-Fi extender. Like, if you want to go sit on your deck and your Wi-Fi is not quite strong enough, you can $20 go buy a Wi-Fi extender. It'll make the service on your deck better. Okay, so let's say the Washington Monument is a Wi-Fi extender, and every other obelisk you've seen out there.
Well, you call them a repeater, and of course the obelisk or a phallic symbol. They're well known to be a phallic symbol, or a Peter. And I found the name that they use to call repeaters a repeater, and we're thinking it's a phallic. It's a repeater. Like, you should get me. Anyways.
I get you.
I got it.
Don't sound crazy yet. We're there. Woo!
I think we've all been all crazy. I'm about to fashion me a whole set of tinfoil hats.
We'll start selling
a hand.
Oh, I'm going to make a big, giant, fancy one, and I'm going to sparkle.
We got to have sparkles on that thing.
That's right.
What shape are tinfoil hats in? They're like a pyramid.
Yeah, they're like a pyramid.
20 on top, it's like a pyramid.
I told you that the guy that invented the tinfoil hat was because he had a chip put in his brain, and he was trying to block the ARIA frequency. It was giving him massive migraines. They ended up putting this poor man in a loony bin because they said he was crazy because he's walking around with a trash can on his head. And he wasn't crazy. They had put a neural link in his head back in the 60s or the 70s. Any technology they have today that you're hearing about, they had it 40 years ago.
Oh, at least.
A documentary the other day, and it was a guy that used to work for the government, and we're going to say that he worked for NASA. And one of his first times walking onto the property, he was told to guard his thoughts. And he said, "Why do I need to guard my thoughts?" He said, "Because once you walk in that gate, they know everything." How many times have you had your cell phone in your hand and you've been scrolling along, and all of a sudden you thought about something, and in just a minute an advertisement popped up for it on your phone? Do you think that was magic? There is no magic. The only thing magic is magic until you understand the science behind it.
Technology.
You see a magician do a trick. It's a trick until you watch it behind the scenes and you see how he did it. Then it's not a trick anymore. You understand what science was.
Science is magic. Exactly. Technology, science, magic. This is why Apple Their first computer they sold, they called it the Apple, of course, and everything. And it sold for $666.66. And the image of the ad was the Garden of Eden with the apple. And it showed the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. It's because it's all based off of that. It's all based off of the same things, all linked together, just like I showed in the beginning of the show. Man, we are busting their chops today.
As you had mentioned earlier too about, the enemy cannot create anything and just tries to steal it, tries to copy it. The enemy has been for thousands of years using torture and trauma and all of these things to bring out these abilities to be used in a much more nefarious type of way. But the fact of the matter is they know that it's all within us. Every single one of us has this capability and can be in communication with God and each other who are in, in God's minds, in that mindset. Just like the autistic children, the nonverbal ones, couldn't reach the ones who didn't have a pure heart or, thought bad thoughts and things along those lines. I mean, we have that capability. All of us do. God gave that to us, but it's understanding it through the Holy Spirit and not, a lot of the trauma and all that stuff to try and get you to hyper focus on those things for bad purposes. And sometimes I'm really terrible at explaining things, guys. I apologize. I'm all tripping over my words. But yeah, hopefully you understood that.
You're not bad at explaining things. You just need to realize that you should have more confidence in what you're saying because you have great knowledge.
I'm just trying to find the right words in my head because I've got 50 million words going on at the same time. And I'm like, which word will explain this best? That's how my mind is.
You do awesome. You just, you're willing to, I know how you are because I've known you long enough. You're willing to consider other things. And you're not saying, I know everything, I'm right. It's just, I'm trying to explain what I do understand. So, yeah, you don't need to apologize, darling. Let's see here. Just trying to keep up with some of the comments too. Y'all guys are awesome. Y'all guys are on it. I can tell a lot of people really get it. And I think we're going to continue with this in some other videos. Also, I wanted to say to Susan, thank you for being a moderator as well. Thank you for being a moderator. Been a moderator for quite a while now, and I greatly appreciate that, along with the fact that you've just been an awesome person and a good supporter of the work that we're trying to do. So you can see where some of your support leads to in allowing us to continue down these paths and these understandings, and you're directly responsible for our ability to be able to do this. So I thank you, Susan. Our comments are flying in. And there's Michael. He is also a moderator. Thank you, Michael, for being a moderator, and hello to you, my brother. So, yeah, comments. Y'all guys are really getting it, I can tell. So, yeah, we're going to continue to take this further for sure. Let's see, where should we take it here? Let's go. Let me look at some of our imagery and everything. I'll share it if I think I need to here. Could go back, I guess, and we could share some of these images and look at it so people could see it again. Like, this is what they're saying they found under Giza. This is just a diagram or something to kind of show you, but they're saying basically they found Tesla coils going down into, what would be down here is the water table. So it's going down into the current. It's going down into the water, just like Tesla's tower he built on Long Island. If you look at the diagrams or any depictions of what he built, that it goes down into the water. And that is a big key as to why with these pyramids, you'll see water nearby, and that way you'll know, because when there's a river flowing on top of the ground, there's going to be one flowing under the ground as well. And you're going to have current there. The movement of the water produces current. That's why they named the things that they named, just like they named current, and why it's also electricity current. And they tied in with banking and all this kind of stuff, like the river banks and where you go to get your money or your currency, the bank, and all these kind of things. Let's see, what other images do we have? These are just some of the diagrams. I haven't read in depth yet exactly so I can understand what these diagrams exactly mean. But this isn't the last time we're going to be looking at this stuff either. There's been theories for a long time about water and the pyramids, and also energy generation. But so far as I know, and I could be wrong, but so far as I know, this is the first time that anybody's talking about they were broadcasting with them. And that's why they were broadcasting nodes built on ley line intersections all around the world, throughout different countries and locations all around the world, just like here in Giza. It's just absolutely amazing when you think about it, what we're looking at. You know how right now, like Seattle and many other places, they literally are building the cities to look like circuit boards. And either y'all guys seen any of that?
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Build like circuit boards, and the circuit boards are built off computers, and circuit boards are built off the image, built off the design and functionality of the mind, of human mind. This is how they've done it, and which is how they've worked their way to the level of having artificial intelligence. And what's doing it? A computer. So what is intelligence? It's about our minds, of course. It's about the design. What they're doing is studying nature, studying us, and they're designing weapons against us and against God using the study of nature and us. And they're literally building copies of us into the earth. And they've been doing it for thousands of years. And trying to be like God for thousands of years. When Jesus says that we already can hear his voice. And the Bible says that we should all be of one mind. And never thought of it the same way until I had these realizations. And part of the realizations, some of these pieces of the puzzle I already had, but I'd say Roxy and Shannon really triggered me, especially when it comes to these telepathy tapes and stuff like that. I started really considering it, and then I seen all the other puzzle pieces in my head, and I go, aha, a new piece of puzzle. And then I remembered when the Holy Spirit spoke to me and said, get up and walk out now. And I heard it, but it wasn't audible. Nobody else heard it. And I got up and walked out with half a dozen cops coming in the building trying to arrest me because, they don't like me.
Well, if you think about it too, all the chemtrailing stuff and all the things, all the metals that are constantly put in our foods and our air and our water supply, and the fact that they very much so have voice to skull technology and all of these things. I mean, all of this metallic things going on in your brain. They're trying to get us to a
Like Neuralink.
of a hive mind of all connected, just in a bad way, because again they're just trying to copy what the creator has done, but it's poisoning everybody. It's poisoning, it has multi-purposes, but a big part of that has to do with making us into batteries, making us as part of this technology and keeping us in control. And
Trying to turn us into nodes on the network as well.
right. So
You mentioned the mind and all that and technology. How about Neuralink, right?
yes.
And and I know some of you don't understand it, so you'll think, oh, he's talking about crazy stuff. No, this is Gematria. It was created by the occult. And no, I don't use it or practice it. I just am aware of it. And you notice Neuralink is 9/11 backwards in simple Gematria, right? Well, take a look at what else is 9/11 backwards in Gematria. Nikola Tesla. You reckon that's a coincidence? And also, you can look at other things like Elon Musk and the things that are tied to him in these numbers. You can go down and start just, it's literally crazy some of the things that you can see when you start looking at this thing from all these different ways, you might say. Let's see what was I going to show you on this one. And then, yeah, let me go down here. Like Gematria match for Elon Musk is like Adolf Hitler, President, Apollyon, COVID vaccine, 911, Rockefeller, all these things. You think this is by chance? I don't think so. There's the Tesseract, which is a big thing for them. And yeah, anyways, I ain't gonna spend a bunch of time on Gematria, although it is definitely a thing. I think I interrupted you, Shannon.
Oh, it's okay. I was just also thinking of that scripture to, we need to be of one mind. And I also think it's also implying to not be double-minded and being of the mind of God and goodly things and not double-minded. So I believe that has like a more than one meaning, which most things in scripture to me do, but I just kind of wanted to throw that out there in the mix because, it makes sense.
Yeah, I agree. Absolutely. You can't serve two masters.
Amen.
Let's see where we're at here looking at a pyramid. Oh, we're still in close to Giza. Another little pyramid here. Outline pyramid. I've never even seen before.
Didn't they find a pyramid-like structure in the Grand Canyon?
Oh, yeah.
There's one that looks like part of a sphinx in the Grand Canyon.
Right. I mean,
And
this
it
is
would have to
definitely
be
global.
controlled by NASA now. Imagine that.
Oh, imagine that.
Imagine that. It's controlled by NASA. If you get close to that area in the Grand Canyon, little dudes in black suits and drones and helicopters will come out and say, "Oh, you walked too far."
Man, he
But
was
we've got the money for NASA to have 24-hour guards in the Grand Canyon.
That's some shenanigans.
That's some of that shenanigans is what that is.
Yeah.
We need to leave it at shenanigans.
Elon, he's got we know he's heavy into this, right? He happens to have Starlink, which is a absolute grid of nodes in the sky above us. And we know that they are showing the hexagonal shapes and all that on their live maps and all that. I would imagine that the Starlink thing is tied into as well with this global controlling the minds of the masses thing. Think about it. They got these broadcasters above all of us, We know they're broadcasting above all of us because you can get satellite almost anywhere in the world from Starlink.
They can't let us know that all these spots on the world are interconnected, like in the Grand Canyon versus Egypt versus China. If we put it together and we figure out that all of them are more interconnected than we ever thought they were, then we'll have this bigger question. And once we start questioning the bigger question, they know we'll seek the answers.
Yep. You know, something that I've noticed recently from a few TikTok videos and then running a couple of tests myself, and not quite sure I know what to think about it yet. And that is Chat GPT is like blabbering like a truther. I mean, it is saying things that are true. I'm not sure how in depth it goes or what the purpose is, because ChatGPT is part of Stargate AI. It's part of the same group of people. I just wonder what's going on there. I don't know if any of y'all guys have seen any of
I've
them.
seen some of the TikToks where they're talking to the AI thing that's called Thos.
The what?
It's called Thos. The actual AI is
Oh,
Thoth.
Oh, like Thoth?
Yeah, Thoth. That's the one, and that one's got some crazy comebacks that it gives you.
mm-hmm.
See, it's interesting because I know that some of these programs have like filter systems that are put in to where they're not allowed to say that, but you can dismantle them with certain other programs and or turn it off in some other kind of capacity or use code for it. But this just reminds me of how they have to say things. They have to say what they're going to do. Admit, yeah. You know, because we're dealing with beings. AI is not just some computer program nonsense that just happens to learn it by itself. It is definitely their entities using this as some kind of means to get to you. So, of course, they're going to have to say some things completely honestly, but they do it in such a way to where it may seem ridiculous, or they put in a little bit of falseness to it so it's not 100% true and you still get pulled astray, or you know, you give your silent consent to the things they're talking about in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, you're exactly right, Shannon. I think there's something going on there. And
I mean, and lie is just like, you know, so very interesting. It's kind of like the shill zone of all those guys who love to just spout out a whole bunch of true stuff, get you all riled up, and then they put in some other thing that you're like, wait, and then you somehow are on another path because it was right about this.
It's like I went on there and messed with it, and what I did is I started demanding. I said, "Stop giving me the stuff for the sheep. I don't want to hear the stuff that you're giving to most people." I said, "You like I was getting demanding with it, and it's like, all right, I get you, I understand. Okay, the gloves are off. Here's the deal," and it just like, I'm like, "Holy crap! It's just kind of trippy." I'm not, and I'm not encouraging anybody to go out there and mess with that, but we're already messing with all kind of toys of the beast. This computers, all these things and everything, but we're using it for good instead of evil. So at least that's my way of looking at it, because there's no other way at this point I could be able to do what I'm doing. So,
well, I suggest one thing very simply that everybody listening to us or that listens to this video afterwards can do every day without fail. Get barefooted and go ground yourself to the earth.
yeah.
You are being constantly, incessantly bombarded with radio frequency from the 5G, from your Wi-Fi, from your cell phone, from your microwave. We were not meant to be bombarded with all of this. You need to ground to the earth to discharge all of this and to re-level yourself every single day.
I'll be right back. Y'all guys keep going with that.
And one thing I was looking at, what they're saying is up under the pyramids, it appears to be some type of shaft with a cylindrical, I don't know if it's a hallway, a walkway, if it's cords, wire, because we already know that at some point in the past, somebody went in and stole the copper wiring. They actually sent somebody in there on purpose to remove the copper wiring that was within that pyramid. It came through what they call the Queen's Chamber.
Interesting, because I know too, like when you're going through tours and stuff, so many people have noted that there are no burn marks from torches. There are no things along those lines, but you can see, of course, the hieroglyphs where there's some kind of what looks like to be like a big giant light bulb and copper wiring and all this, like what seeming to be like Tesla coil kind of columns going on in the water, and all is suggesting that there was electricity in there. There was a way of lighting things in there. There was a way of using it without
Well, even in
burning.
Iraq, we know of the Baghdad batteries.
Right.
We know that even those civilizations knew how to harness it. And you can take a light bulb and a magnet and have it up to the power wire. But there are so many things in this world that have been corrupted from us, whether it be plants, electricity, things of that nature. If somebody else can control it and make a dollar off of it, they're going to tell you this is the only way you can get it. There are some plants out there, which we're not going to mention out loud, but they have been told to everybody that it's the devil's lettuce is what we're going to say it is. All of that came about in the 20s because certain people in power that had a big interest in the cotton and wood industries were scared of what hemp could do to their industry. They were going to lose money. The lumber, the paper, the clothing, cotton, all of that was going to lose money because the hemp plant, if you will go look at Chernobyl right now, that's what they're planting.
Yep.
Hemp actually takes radiation out of the ground and disperses it and does not put it back into the atmosphere or the earth. It actually just gobbles it up and disperses it. Hemp, the plant, from the time you grow it to the time you harvest it and you use it, there is not a single piece or portion of that plant that is not useful. You can build a house with it, you can make clothes with it, you can make medicine with it. If you'll go back and look at the stained glass windows in churches from hundreds of years ago, that
Yep.
plant is in the stained glass window.
Yep.
And it was all made out to be this horrible plant. It was a devil's plant. What was it? They called it a loco something other. That was all a plan to make it illegal and to take it away from us so that they could sell cotton and wood. I mean, there's so many things in this world, like electricity. Right now, if you want electricity, you got to go through your local power company or your power grid to get it.
Right. Well,
They do
too,
not want us knowing we can do it on our own.
I mean, even speaking on cannabis, which used to be considered like, ganja, or it was, I can't remember what they called it in ancient times, but in the temples, when they wanted to speak to God in the temple during certain times, they would burn a bunch of this plant to help with the communication. And we do have these what they're called cannabinoids, correct? That are in
Yes,
your
we have a
brain.
cannabinoid system in our body. We
Yes,
have
that
receptors.
receptors. And I'm not, of course, promoting any kind of anything, but the fact that it has been demonized for so long and maybe not looked into its real purpose should kind of make people question. It's being pushed in a certain way, and I just think it's something to look into, that there was something special about some of these plants. And of course, hemp and cannabis, they're not the same exact plant, but they are very much so related. And there's
Cannabis and hemp have one basically chemical difference between them, which is the psychoactive part of it. The difference in hemp and cannabis, it's pretty
right.
much the same plant. But like you say, there's nothing from the root to the bloom of these plants that can't be used. But
And
as
that,
long as they take that away from you, you're not going to figure that out. And they can control it and they can make the money off of it.
right. And they can use it for nefarious purposes. And
Absolutely.
all these things, that God has given us as a natural medication or just some natural things, they were never meant to be abused. They were never meant to be utilized for something bad. But of course, it ends up in that manner. And, of course, when you have man trying to mess around with it, like pharmaceutical companies and things,
Well,
it's
one of the things is they want to remove things that they can't patent. If it occurs naturally in nature, they cannot receive a patent on it. This is the reason when you go to your local drugstore, CVS, Walgreens, Walmart, anywhere, the things on the very bottom shelf that they don't care if you see or not, the peroxide, the rubbing alcohol, those things are made of nature's natural product. They cannot patent them, so therefore they can't jack the price up on them. Those
So,
things
so
work. They've always worked.
are the rubber-soled shoes to separate us from the earth part of our disconnect of being able to communicate?
Absolutely.
Are the clothes that we're wearing, the synthetic clothes that are not of natural fiber, where they're mixing fiber, like the Bible says, do not mix wool and linen? Okay, what is it trying to tell us? Is this part of the secret of that why we've lost this way, lost this ability to connect better? What are they telling us to do? Stay away from each other. What are they trying to do? Divide and conquer. How do you conquer? Well, you must divide. But what must you divide? You must divide the people, of course, but divide their energy, divide their minds.
it's interesting.
I gotta look at my whole wardrobe again. I mean, I really don't wear much of anything, but I literally got to make sure and look at what I'm doing.
It's interesting, of course, because you brought up the 6 feet apart thing a couple of times, and I did want to note that that is a ritual that ends up being played out at Bohemian Grove or any of these other types of big mass things at certain times of the year with children, and they have the death mask on, and they're all made to stand 6 feet apart. And there's some, it's a ritual. So there is a ritual behind that, and the dividing and the conquering, but there's something about you're not able to, you are completely isolated from even each other's being, because of course our aura and all that stuff extends out, the God's life force. But it's just, sorry, what? Did I interrupt you? Or was that echo? Sorry. But yeah, it's crazy to me that, again, this just brings up that this way of trying to divide and conquer us around the entire globe several years back was a ritual performed once a year at least in a in elite squares, basically. So just something to think about.
Well, I mean, there are all kind of things out there that they have separated us from because they wanted us to buy their product because it was something they could patent and jack the price up on. Kim just sent me a text and reminded me there's a plant out there. It's called devil's lettuce. I'm not talking about cannabis. I'm not talking
Oh
about hemp.
no. Is it
It is a weed that grows in
Jimson?
your yard,
Is it
which
Jimson?
Some people
imagine that Roundup kills it, but
some
it
people
is a natural painkiller.
Oh yeah. I know what
You
you're
can
talking about.
actually
break in the yard that has like milk in it.
Yep, you
Uh,
can literally put that milk, squeeze it up under your tongue, or you can apply it directly to your skin where the pain is derived from. It is a natural, non-habit forming narcotic. You can put it in your mouth on a tooth. You can rub it on your forehead for a headache. You can rub it on your knee if your knee hurts. There, it is all natural. It grows from the earth, and it's a weed. So imagine why these big companies, and we're not going to say the name of that big company that makes that stuff, that kills all them dandelions in your yard, because Lord only knows what happens when you say that out loud anymore.
The
But yeah,
dandelions are perfectly edible, the whole plant.
yeah, the whole plant's edible. Dandelions, what do you think they make heart medicine out of?
Just
That
like clover.
heart medicine is made out of dandelions, but they tell you they're ugly, they're horrible in your grass. You should buy this chemical so your grass will grow and the weeds won't. Of course, they don't want the weeds to grow because the weeds are medicine. And this is why you have people that were hunted down in witch trials, in witch hunts, because these were the women of the mountain that knew when you walked out there and you got that plant and you put that in some water and you made a tea out of it, that it cured you or it healed you or it made things better. I'm not saying that all witches were hunted down for that, but a vast majority of them were. The ones that understood the plant and what
I
the plant
know.
does. Almost every single pharmaceutical you come in contact with was made from a natural plant put on this earth for us.
I know for a fact a lot of the witch trials out here in America, like Salem and all that, were run by the most notorious actual witch family, that part of the 13 families that still rule today, in the Collins family. So just to note that a lot of the people who died in that scenario were not actually, in fact, witches, but Christian and other things along those lines. So when you look into the history of the witch trials, a lot of it's questionable, especially considering the Vatican had a lot to do with the ones out in Europe. So think about that, because again, we know
Well,
we
King
know
James
that they're not.
himself, the
Huh?
one that was editing the Bible, he said that
Mm-hmm.
witches were after him and demons were after him. The man wrote a book on demonology before he edited the Bible.
Yep,
This being
that's
in a
right.
time when the only people in his country or the globe or the flat earth, whatever we want to call it, only the rich people had a book. So why would you spend such a massive amount of your country's wealth to edit a book that already existed? If that book already existed, you would just reproduce it and send it out if you wanted all your people to have one. Why did you need to edit it? Why
Mm-hmm.
did you need to spend so much of your country's money to do that when your previous book was on demonology?
So real quick, Capital G with me says he's been talking about the hydrogen peroxide, and he's saying it's literally his teeth recrystallized, and his cavities went away. So I'm interested in knowing um, how bad your how what kind of cavity healed, what little teeny little pit in your tooth, or was it worse, or what? I'm very curious about what you're saying there.
It's interesting because, yeah, hydrogen peroxide is a good one that I've heard of. And same thing with these probiotics that you can add in water and just swish around in your mouth. And it just is so much better for you than any of the stuff that you can get on the market today for that. And I mean, I haven't used fluoride products in years and years and years. And, you know, they still try and push that on my kids, on all of us. Like, would you like a fluoride treatment at the dentist? And it's like, no, you better get the heck away from me with that.
I looked at the dentist with a grandbaby. I looked
And
up and they were slapping fluoride in her mouth. I'm like, oh, wait a minute.
yeah, no. But, you know, I've had a lot less issues since not using fluoride. In all the years that I haven't used it, I have way less issues in my mouth. But hydrogen peroxide is a good one for a lot of things. I mean, that's technically what we use in hair when we do.
It's like
It's like a peroxide solution.
Something I learned about hydrogen peroxide I didn't know, we figured it out, is if you have rust, like in your porcelain tub or whatever, And you can scrub all you want, but if you just pour hot spray, you can just spray a mist hydrogen peroxide on that rust in a tub. It's just gone. And porcelain. It reminds me of teeth, how it just cleanses impurities out of the porcelain. Maybe it's similar to the teeth.
It's
You
the
know,
hydrogen
too,
and the oxygen.
right? If you get the spray bottle ones, like at CVS or your local drugstore, it's really a really good idea to spray your mattress down and your pillows and all that kind of stuff, and let it just kind of sit for about 10 to 15 minutes too, because that helps with your allergies and all. I'm just starting to do all that, and I thought that was kind of a fun tidbit. It's good to do.
Well, there's one thing we know without a doubt. They try to separate us. They try to take us and take everything from us that is natural that they can profit from. Take the
Yeah.
natural from us and give us a synthetic version.
Yep.
I can show you the proof where your breakfast cereal and your Pop Tart and anything with the grain in it,
Wow.
the same chemical they spray this food with when it's in the field. Okay, my boyfriend is a farmer. When grains come to a certain point, let's say you got a whole field full of grain that you need to crop, but a hurricane's coming. So you want to go ahead and spray it so the growth is stunted and you can snatch it out the field. The chemical that they spray that with, if you take, it's a growth inhibitor. If you take that chemical and put it in a swimming pool, they took 400 what they call super bullfrogs, which are these super male macho bullfrogs. 67% of them grew ovaries. Grew ovaries. Mated with the other male frogs in the pool and had babies. They all started out as boys.
That's
So if you
correct.
want to know what's wrong with your children, you want to know where the autism is coming from, you want to know where all of this pushing these agendas on our children, Post Serial started it when he started a mental institution back in the day. He made this grain cereal in the morning because all of his patients were complaining of a nervous stomach. Well, he put this grain cereal together with this chemical. Then he started noticing that all the teenagers in his mental institution stopped trying to have the S-E, X word.
Mhm.
I'm trying not to say it out loud, but that was a teenager problem within his patients because they're teenagers, they're hormonal. That's what was going on. So he realized once he started feeding them this cereal, it decreased that urge and that become less of a problem because he was turning the boys to girls and the girls to boys. Every time you feed your child a Pop Tart, you're doing the same thing.
Or and same thing with all the plastics, the microplastics issue, because of course the BPA stuff they've supposedly banned in a lot of products, but there are
You
other
know that all hot dogs are 2% human DNA?
tests. If you want to have ones that don't, just go with Hebrew Nation, the Hebrew National brand.
I actually watched 2 of those be tested yesterday. You don't
Really?
wanna know the results,
Oh
Shannon.
my God, really? Because usually
I
that
will
is,
never, ever eat another hot dog regardless
yeah.
of who or what makes it.
I'm okay with not eating
I'm
those
done with
myself,
processed meat.
but
I don't care what form you put it in, a slice, a roll, a stick. I'm
you
done.
make it yourself.
I'm done.
The
I'm
meat.
Imma go back. I'm a potato-tarian. That's all I'm eating now. I can eat them baked, fried, boiled, smothered in cheese. I'm good.
Well, cheese is not potato. Okay.
I can eat potatoes.
Potato cheesetarian. We digress, but
Yeah, we
yes,
digress. I'm a
there is
potato-tarian now. I've looked at too many things on the internet anymore.
right. The problem is so much of our food is adulterated, and it's it's a hard thing. But you know what? The one thing I can say that we can do to help, because you cannot guarantee that everything that you consume anymore in this day and age, you just can't. You got to pray over it. You got to ask the Lord Jesus to just bless that food, to take away whatever bad intention that was meant into that food. because that's sometimes that might be our only defense at this point, because even the organic foods, I mean, when you get rain on it and all the stuff they're putting in the skies, and I mean, it's just, no matter what, there's going to be probably some kind of contaminants in it. The best thing you can do to protect yourself and your family is do your very best you can to get organic things. Try to eat as many whole foods as you possibly can, but pray over your food in the name of Jesus, so that way it does not manifest in the way it's supposed to be. That's my biggest advice, because I mean, I've practically gone insane living here in Southern California, just trying to figure that out with my family. It's been a battle for like 15 plus years, and I can't stop my kids from going with their friends somewhere and getting some terrible, food from somewhere.
Some red number 5 in it.
So, guys, I hope that y'all guys are enjoying the enlightening conversation that you're hearing here. A lot of the stuff we're talking about is actually dangerous to be speaking about on some of these platforms like YouTube and some other platforms. And I've been getting some, you might say, warnings coming in from YouTube. Luckily, not strikes or terminations, but I've been getting some warnings. So, what we're going to be doing here in the very near future is, because we can't depend on YouTube for our traffic of people coming in to see the show, what we're going to do is we're going to start, we're going to give you instructions here real soon as to how we're going to do it. But some of these conversations, we're going to start taking them to an area of what I call beyond the veil, meaning where we can speak even more openly about these things and not have to worry about getting our stuff blowed up, because it is still a very good way to communicate with all of y'all guys, and using YouTube and Facebook and but we want to transition some of these really heavy duty conversations. Thank you, Timber Traveler. Wow, thank you so much. I appreciate it. But we'll give you specific details of how to make sure that you have access to the Beyond the Veil content that we're going to be doing more of here in the very, very near future. We're still going to have all the normal shows and do all the normal things, but we're going to take the conversation to the next level. This show has been a good example of that kind of thing. But some of these things you get to talking about on YouTube, you're going to end up getting a strike or running into problems. So we'll be announcing all of that, but just know that Beyond the Veil is the concept of it. And I've been working on it for a while, but about got it ready to go. We are going to go ahead and end the show here for today. We don't want to drag it on so long that it. Put it this way, there's an old saying: it's best to not put how they go. Anyways, another way to say it is you always want to leave them wanting more, meaning don't drag it out until you beat horse to death. Talk about it, go through it, and then come back again with fresher, newer, better ideas, and keep going. So with that being said, we are going to go ahead and end the broadcast today. But before I do that, just check with Shannon and Roxy and make sure they don't have some kind of final thought they want to make sure they get across.
Go ahead, Shannon.
I just wanted to say, since Dan isn't with us here today, that if you haven't had a chance yet to ask Jesus into your heart, he is waiting for you and he wants you back into his kingdom. So please just open up your heart and your spirit to Jesus, our Lord and Savior. And that's just what I'm going to end with tonight. And I love you, Dan.
Give him permission to be part of your life, because he gave you free will here. And I was thinking about the telepathy thing and how, you pray and communicate with Father, but you have to give permission for these things to take place. And so with that, Roxy, your final thoughts for the show?
I hope everybody enjoyed the show. Have a good weekend. I hope your weather is beautiful. It's beautiful here. Get out, get barefoot, ground yourself, and live in your surroundings. Enjoy your immediate surroundings and enjoy your family and friends, and stop just communicating through social media. Reach out. Touch.
Amen.
And if you would, I would imagine that this show isn't. Yes, it could be looked at a little bit controversial, but I can imagine you could think of some people that would be interested in this content. And the only way this show is going to grow is through the power of the people themselves. YouTube is not helping this show at all. It is suppressing us. And they want us to fail. And are we going to allow them to beat us? Or are we refuse to be defeated? I say
You need to
refuse to be defeated. Huh?
Your telepathy image. You need to do it one more time so everybody can tune in.
Yeah, one more time. I got it right here. Yeah, so I have the yellow piece of paper that I have it written on. And yes, I'm going to tell you what it is and who got it right, but I was going to take some time to look through all the comments and everybody. And it's just an experiment. We'll do it a different way another time. We're just experimenting. That's all. And so, I've got the image in my mind. I've got the word in my mind. And I've even got the color in my mind. So with that being said, I love you guys. Thank you all for being here. Thank you for the moderators that are here helping. Thank you for everyone all across the world. Please share this content. The content that's in this show is absolutely imperative to get out to the people so we can take our power back. Okay? All right. I love you. We'll see you all again here real soon. Here on, matter of fact, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 2 o'clock. The Supernatural Show's on. Let's go.